Hey, what's up, everybody? It's good to be back with you today. And 1908 just continues to go marching along. I just realized I haven't put this folder or this window in the right place. We'll put it back up here where it belongs. You know, window management's always a difficult issue. If you watch a lot of these, you'll notice that this thing right down here is always in kind of a different position because I forget where I put it. That's kind of what happens. My wife will blame it on my old and ripe age. So we've got the White Sox and the Browns today, and you can see, of course, the reason why we have them. Both of them are tied for first place with identical 6-4 records, and this American League is getting tighter and tighter as we go along. I mean, this has really been pretty impressive this season so far. 2 games separating the top team from the bottom team. I don't know if I've ever seen that in a replay. I mean, I know we're only 10 games into it, but wow, you know, that's parity. Here's Fielder Jones to lead this one off for the Browns. He rolls a 23 for a 32. That's a little fly ball over to right field. Hartzell has it for the out. One away. Here's Ed Hahn. Hahn rolls a 21 for a 30. It's a fly ball to left field, and it's Stone who has that one. 2 away. Patsy Doherty rolls a 15 for an 11. That'll be a single and a stolen base. And here comes George Davis, but with 2 outs, you can't bunt, can't do much. But he rolls a 66 for a 0. This is going to score a run. The next roll is a 14 for an 11, and that's a run scored. And Davis winds up on second base after the single with a stolen base. Freddie Parent now, 1-0 White Sox, top of the first. He rolls an 11 for a 7 and will score the second one. It's 2-0 as Parent is on at first. 2-0 White Sox with Jiggs Donahue up there, rolls a 33 for an 8, and there's a ground ball over to Ferris, the third baseman, who makes the play and throws to first for the out. That brings up George Stone here for the Brownies. George Stone rolls a 64 for a 13 and strikes out against Frank Smith. 1 away. Here's Bobby Wallace. Wallace rolls a 21 for a 30, and there's a fly ball to left field. Doherty has it for the out. 2 away. Smith with that 15 grade Q0. That's a high grade. Here's Hope Ferris. Ferris rolls a 44 for a 7, and there's a single to right field. Doesn't matter how high your grade is, you can't stop a 7. Jimmy Williams. That's the story of life, right? You can't stop a 7 no matter how high your grade is. And there's a ground ball over to Donahue, the first baseman, who flips it over to Smith, he of the high grade, for the out. We go to the top of the second inning. Those grades, by the way, are based on batted against average, not against ERA, and that's a long story. We'll tell you one day. Tannehill, the batter here leaning off the top of the second, rolls a 55 for an 8. That's a ground ball to Wallace at shortstop, who throws to first for the out. 1 away. Here now is Alfred Shaw. Shaw rolls a 15 for a 38, and that's changed to a 40. That'll be a foul ball. Next roll is a 43 for a 29. That's a comebacker over to Powell. The pitcher throws over to first for the out. 2 away. And here is Frank Smith. Smith will roll a 54 for a 45. That's a fly ball over to right field, and it's Hartzell making the catch for the out. Bottom of the second, here's Danny Hoffman. Hoffman rolls a 15 for an 11. That's a single and a stolen base, and Frank Smith can't stop that either. Here's Roy Hartzell. He rolls a 44 for an 8, and that's going to be a ground ball over to Tannehill, the third baseman, who throws to first for the out. Here's Tom Jones. We're going to bring the infield in early with that 2-0 lead. Jones will swing away, and his swing away is a 56 for a 32. That's going to be a fly ball over to right field. It's Hahn who makes the catch, but the runner scores after tagging up, and it's 2-1. Here's Jim Stevens. Stevens now rolls a 14 for a 43, and that's a fly ball over to Doherty in left field. That's harmless. We go to the top of the third inning. Here's Fielder Jones. Jones rolls a 56 for a 30. It's another harmless fly to left field. This time Stone has it because we have swapped sides for the first out, and here is Ed Hahn. Hahn rolls a 56 for a 34, and the little E roll is there, and the roll is a 33. That's going to be a little pop-up over to the shortstop. Wallace has it for the out. 2 away, and here is Patsy Doherty. Patsy rolls a 33 for an 8, and that's a ground or fly ball rather to Hoffman in center field for the out. We go to the bottom of the third. Here's Jack Powell. Rolls an 11 for a 0, and the second roll is a 16 for a 6, and there's a double to right center field, and that'll bring up George Stone. 2-1 ball game, but the Browns coming back. George Stone up there, and top of the order is the pitcher Powell's on second base. He rolls a 44 for a 7, and that's a single to right field, and that will score the runner, and this game is tied. I told you there's a lot of stuff that A can't stop, and that's one of them. Stone has that 11. We love to see that. We're going to do some hitting and running here with Bobby Wallace up there. Wallace hitting 171. And he rolls a 62 for a 12. Good hit and run call. Stays out of the double play. Instead, that's a ground ball over to Davis, who makes the play to first for the out. 1 away for Hope Ferris, runner on second base. 2 chances for the Browns to go ahead. Ferris rolls at 41 for a 28, and that's a ground ball over to Parent, the shortstop, who throws to first for the out, moving Stone up to third. Jimmy Williams now 2 outs, runner on third base, 2-2 ball game, and he rolls a 31 for a 9, and that's going to be a strikeout for Williams. For Smith. We go to the top of the fourth inning. Williams does strike out. I got both names right without looking. How's that? George Davis rolls a 66 for a 0. And the next rule is a 25 for a 6, and there's a double off of Powell, which will bring up Freddie Parent. Nobody out, top of the 4th inning. Runner on second base for Parent will swing away, and he rolls an 11 for a 7. There's another single to drive the run home. 9 hits in this game. It's amazing. Some of these 1908 games, tons of hits. Some of them, nothing. Jigs Donahue now with the 3-2 lead is going to bunt, and his roll is a 55 for a 9. That would have been a base hit. Instead, it's a good bunt over there to Ferris on the left side, who throws over to the second baseman, Williams, covering at first for the out. One away, and here's Lee Tannehill. And we should have just swung away. I tell you, I can see all the Sabermetricans in the comment section asking me what in the world I'm doing. Tannehill rolls a 64 for a 29, and there's a ground ball over to Jones. There he is, the first baseman, who flips to Powell covering at the bag. 2 away, and here's Alfred Shaw. And my dog's going nuts because the neighbors have a package that's coming in. So it's not you, it's me. And Shaw rolls a 26 for a 32, and there's a fly ball over there to right field. It's going to be Hartzell making the catch. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Danny Hoffman to lead this one off, 3-2 ball game. Hoffman rolls a 31 for a 9. That's a strikeout, 1 away, and it's Roy Hartzell. Hartzell will roll a 21 for a 30, and that's a fly ball over to Doherty in left field for the second out. Here's Tom Jones, who rolls a 21 for a 30. Another fly ball over there to Doherty in left. We go to the top of the 5th inning, and here's Frank Smith. Smith rolls a 66 for a 6. Man, having a pretty good day up there as the pitcher. 1 for 2 today. And Fielder Jones up there now with the pitcher on his second base. And he rolls a 13 for a 14 and will take his base with the walk. That'll bring up Ed Hahn. And we're going to swing away. I'm just thinking about that video I did the other day about double plays in 1908, and there's not a whole lot of them. The rule for Hahn, unfortunately for him, is a 14 for a 43. It's a fly ball over to left field. Stone has it for the out. 1 away. That's not deep enough for anyone to move up. Patsy Doherty now will roll a 62 for a 12, and that's going to be a double play ball. It's a ground ball to let's see here, Wallace, who flips to Williams for 1, throws over to Jones at first for the double play. Maybe we should have bunted one of those times. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Jim Stevens rolls a 15 for a 9, and that's a single over shortstop, and that's a base hit, not a strikeout because Smith no longer an A. That brings up Jack Powell, and we are going to bunt. And the rule is a 41 for a 28. It's a good bunt back to Frank Smith, who has to throw over to the second baseman Davis covering at first for the out. 1 away is George Stone. Stone rolls a 13 for a 14, and he gets the walk, and that'll bring up Bobby Wallace. Wallace so far this season hitting only 167, 0 for 2 today. Somebody told me that they had heard that these NP3 replays have depressed batting averages. I haven't checked yet. We're going to check at the beginning of May and see how we're doing, but Wallace's is definitely down. He rolls a 25 for an 8, and that's a ground ball over to third base. It's going to be Tannehill making the play, throwing to first for the out, 2 away, and here is Hobe Ferris. Ferris rolls a 32 for a 26. That's going to be a little ground ball over to the second baseman Davis, throws to first for the out, and it will be George Davis to lead this off top of the 6th. He rolls a 26 for a 27. There's a ground ball over to third baseman Ferris, who throws to first for the out, 1 away. Here's Freddie Parent. Parent rolls a 22 for an 8, and that's a ground ball over to the shortstop Wallace, who throws to first for the out, 2 away, and here's Jigs Donahue. He rolls a 45 for a 14, and there's the walk. Lee Tannehill now rolls a 54 for a 45. That's going to be a fly ball over there to Hoffman, the center fielder, for the out. Go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Here's Jimmy Williams. Williams rolls a 44 for an 8, which is a ground ball over to the shortstop Parent. Throws to first for the out, 1 away. Danny Hoffman now rolls a 35 for a 40. It's going to change to a 39. It's going to be a strike. Of course, Williams doesn't have that W. Then rolls a 51 for a 9. It's going to be a base hit, but Hoffman so sadly is thrown out trying to steal second base, which is realistic. Roy Hartzell now 3-2 ball game, exciting one. Hartzell rolls a 23 for a 32. It's a fly ball over to Hahn in right field, and we go to the top of the 7th inning. Alfred Shaw, to lead this off, rolls a 22 for a 9 and gets the base hit. Rare hit for Shaw, who is not hitting that well, and that brings up Frank Smith. Smith is 1 for 2 today. Probably should be hitting ahead of Shaw in this lineup. And we're going to roll that one again. That one popped out. And the roll is a 22 for an 8. And ends up, because Powell is a B, that ends up being a little ground ball over to Ferris, the third base. He throws to first for the out, but that works as well as a bunt, moving Shaw up to second. Fielder Jones now in the White Sox with a couple chances to drive him in, and he rolls a 66 for a 0. Next roll is a 42 for a 2, and that's going to be a triple to deep center field that will score the run, and up comes Ed Hahn, runner on third base. The infield comes in. Hahn's going to be swinging away. He rolls a 24 for a 13. We can just forget about the whole thing. That's a strikeout, 2 away, and here's Patsy Doherty. He rolls a 22 for an 8, and that's going to be a fly ball over to right field. Hartzell has it for the out. We're going to go to the bottom of the 7th inning now. Tom Jones is up there, and Jones rolls an 11 for a 7, and there's a base hit to right field, and that'll bring up Jim Stevens, the catcher, who, of course, is going to bunt. His bunt is a 35 for a 22, and that is a bunt down to Shaw, the catcher, who is going to throw wildly to the first base. And that is an interesting play here because that means that there are going to be runners on at second or third with nobody out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. This is a chance here for the Browns to really turn this game around. Now we have to see if they're going to do it or not. So Jim Stevens didn't exactly have the best bunt in the world, but that takes what ordinarily would be a somewhat routine game and turns it into something interesting, as there are runners on at first and second, and that brings up Jack Powell, who's a pretty good hitting pitcher. In fact, I'll show you something here. If we go take a look, remember this, he's got an on-base percentage of 242, slugging percentage of 292. If we look around here at the bench, Bert Blue probably would be somebody to put in for him. Charlie Jones, not really. You get a little bit of advantage, but not as much as you think. Al Schweitzer might be another one, and then Tubby Spencer and Joe Yeager actually looks good, but with not very many plate appearances. So for right now, we are actually going to leave Powell in the way that he's been pitching. We're going to leave him in this ball game, which is realistic. Infield will stay deep, I think. Yeah, we're going to keep the infield deep. Powell is going to swing away. Nobody out. There's no need for him to bunt. Jones is slow at third base, and there's a lot of bad things that can happen if you bunt with an S runner on at third. And the rule is a 61 for a 13. And once again, we can say, well, you can forget about that. It was just academic. One out, and here's George Stone, top of the Browns lineup, runners on at second and third, and nobody really to walk. And the rule is a 16 for a 28. That's going to be a ground ball over to the shortstop Parent, who grabs it, throws over to first base for the out. The infield, of course, was playing deep there, and they'll take the out for the run. It's a 4-3 ball game now as the run is scored. So we could have put the infield in, but for me, it doesn't make much sense. The reason why it doesn't make much sense is because that run doesn't mean anything at all. The run that matters is that run that is now on at third base. And the problem that you have, of course, is that if you decide to go ahead and bring the infield in there's a chance that there'll be a base hit through the infield that would score both. Bobby Wallace now with a runner on third base and 2 outs, bottom of the 7th inning, and the roll is at 46 for a 29. That's a comebacker over to Smith, the pitcher, throws to first for the out. We go to the top of the 8th inning. Here's George Davis. Jack Powell stays in this ball game, and he rolls a 45 for a 14, George Davis, that is, and takes the walk. That brings up Freddie Parent in a obvious bunting situation, and we are going to bunt this time around. Parent rolls a 34 for a 44, and that's going to be a little E. That 44 roll makes you wish you had done a hit and run, right? The roll, however, here is a 16, which is within the range. That's going to be an error on the pitcher, Powell, who fumbles the bunt, and that means that there are runners on at first and second now for Jiggs Donahue. Donahue's going to bunt. Might as well, and his roll is a 35 for a 41. And look at this. There's a sharp bunt fly to the first baseman who throws over to the shortstop, Parent, for one. The throw goes back to Davis for a double play. This is a rare play I've never seen before in any of these games. I know, of course, since we're playing it right now, that this is a play in Skeetersoft. What I don't know is if this is a APBA play or not. So you can tell me down below if it is or if it's not, but this is one of those really, really rare plays that I've never seen before in all of my time playing it. The Browns are able to pull off a triple play, and that takes what would have been a very, very dangerous situation here and turns it into something that the Browns might be able to get away with. We'll see if they're able to do anything with this game as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. It's going to be Hope Ferris, part of the order coming up. Ferris rolls a 45 for a 14, and he walks there against Fred Smith, who hasn't been as good as that 15 grade would indicate. Runner on first base now for Jimmy Williams, and Ferris, of course, as I'm looking, doesn't have that precious 11, which means that we're not going to run him. We don't want to add on any more caught stealings than we have to, and the rule is an 11 for a 0 for Williams. Second rule is a 15 for a 2, and that's a triple for Jimmy Williams. It ties this ball game just like that. And this is one of the more exciting games we've played. It's been a little while since we've had one of these 1908 games that has really excited me. And so Williams, in the bottom of the 8th inning here, is able to drive home the tying run. And the infield's going to have to come in as we have, Danny Hoffman coming up. He's going to swing away. He's not going to bunt. We're not going to have him bunt, and let's see what happens here. Infield comes in, nobody out, bottom of the 8th inning, and the Browns have a chance to go ahead. and the rolls a 25 for an 8, and that's going to be a fly ball over to right field. It's deep for Hahn, deep enough to score the runner, and that will bring home the run, and it is a 5-4 game, and the Browns have completed the comeback. So just like that, this game went from being a 2-0 ball game to 3-2, then 4-2, and suddenly it's 5-4, and you thought there was no scoring in 1908, huh? This has been a real interesting ball game. One of the most interesting games I've played, I think, so far this season. This is up there with all the other games I've been talking about because everything that you want to have happen has happened. And here is Roy Hartzell. Hartzell rolls a 54 for a 45, and there is a little E roll. Whoops, we'll do that one again. That would have been within the range. This is outside of it. The roll's a 34. That's a fly ball to Hahn in right field, 2 away. And here's Tom Jones. Jones rolls a 13 for a 14 and takes his base. That brings up Jim Stevens, the catcher. Still something happening for the Browns. Frank Smith kind of struggling out there. The next roll is a 64 for a 29. That's going to be a comebacker over there to Smith, rather, and he throws over to first base for the out. We go to the top of the 9th inning. This is going to be Lee Tannehill. Tannehill rolls a 13 for a 39, and that's going to be changed to a 41. That's a ground ball over to Wallace. The shortstop throws to first for the out, 1 away. Al Shaw now will roll a 65. Just missed that 66. 65 for a 35. Little E rolls a 43. It's going to be a foul out to the third baseman, Ferris. 2 away, and we're going to, of course, pinch hit here for the pitcher. And this is where you really see the hitless wonders. John Anderson, the outfielder, is going to be the... He's going to be the pinch hitter, and this is going to be the White Sox' final chances. They've been totally stunned here in the later innings. He rolls a 51 for a 9, and that's going to be a little pop-up over to Ferris, the third baseman, for the out, and that does it. So the Browns are going to improve to 7-4, best team in the American League. The White Sox go down to 6-5. 5-4, the final score here in this ball game. This was one of the more exciting games here in this young season. We're not even to May yet, friends. We've got a lot of baseball left to come. This is going to be exciting. You better stick around. Talk to you later. Bye.